Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between Root QXC and Softball, this time on Lost Temple. Softball spawning as the Blue Zerg at the 3 o'clock location. Meanwhile, we have Root QXC spawning at the 7 o'clock location as the Purple Terran. So Terran versus Zerg here on Lost Temple, and we'll see how exactly these players will be opening up. A lot of the openings, or a lot of the standard openings for Zerg players, do have them trying to take this expansion here relatively early on. However, siege tanks and Thor drops in this location here, it makes it very, very vulnerable, as a Thor with a range of 7 can easily snipe down that hatchery with its high long range. Thor's hammer, I believe, is a weapon call, as we now see a supply depot being placed down. So Softball moving out with this one Overlord, and we'll see what's going to be happening here. Softball on the previous matchup did go for an early hatchery. I believe he went for a 15 hatchery, and it worked out well for him just because it was cross spawn here on Metalopolis. But if he does go for the same opening here on Lost Temple, it may be much more difficult to defend, as the walking distances between these two ramps are in fact much lower. So now in comes a barracks over here, probably gonna get another supply depot here, and then perhaps a tech lab there, and this game is now underway. So out moves this one SCV will be able to walk up that ramp and see exactly what it wants to see. We do see that Softball is going to be trying to set up a hatchery, and I believe he will get enough minerals just in time as that QXC now moving around, and now Softball, there we go, growing up to be a hatchery. The SCV just a second late in order to try to stop any of that mining, or sorry, stop any of that hatchery placement there. As this SCV now just wandering around, you can see the number of drones here, almost a decent amount of drones just continuing to mine back and forth, and now we see a spawning pool come into play. Back over here, Root QXC currently upgrading to an orbital command center as well. We'll be able to call down mules in just a moment, and now also getting a marine. I do not believe we are going to get a drone into the base, or if he tries to get into the base, he may find himself on the wrong end of a Gauss rifle in just a moment. As this marine is now on the move, in comes this one drone, and will this marine, now the marine is going to try to deal some damage towards that one drone, now trying to chase it, walked in the wrong direction for just 1 second, and down it goes. So that drone will not be able to deal all that much. As this marine now making its way over here, will it be able to gain sight of that drone once again? It looks as though, yes, gonna be able to take down that drone. Down it goes, and now in comes more drones. So yeah, it's gonna be an SCV and some marines trying to fight back and forth. This marine trying to back away. Those drones do move a little bit more quickly, and now that the marine has a best buddy, those two marines are going to be able to put a lot of pressure, as there is also a bunker now down. So QXC getting this bunker in play will be able to stop a lot of the mining and do a lot of harassment, and also preventing him from getting a refinery down here. Perhaps another bunker needs to be placed down right here before that creep even spreads even further. If QXC is able to get another bunker down in time, he can overlap these just a little bit. And now moving out with those marines once again on the move, and now another marine now trying to come in. Are those marines going to be able to deal enough damage? No additional bunkers that I can see so far. Production wise, we do see a factory now coming online, as Zerg is now trying to come in and now trying to run those marines back in, able to run those marines back in, and now in comes an SCV trying to repair this. Will it be able to repair? Will it be able to take down? No, not unable to repair it in time, as that SCV was just snoozing on the job for a split second there. And now the drones and those Zergans have taken care of that marine bunker harassment. So Softball will be enabled will be able to set up this hatchery over here, but we already see a tech to a starport, and that is always a bad sign, and especially at this stage in the game. He's only 5 minutes into the game, and you can see that Softball has invested so much into trying to fend off that early attack. What I expect QXC to do is, I expect QXC to establish a tech lab and then go into Banshee play. We'll see if he does in fact go for that. He may lift it off and try to do a tech lab swap off of the factory, as that factory is currently building that tech lab. Back over here, we do see the Overlord still in the air, and now Spine Crawler. So Softball trying to make sure that he's able to fend off any attack, but so far QXC not really doing all that much. I believe he's gonna go for is he gonna go for a Thor ship? We do see an armory currently in play, so we may get a Thor ship coming in online in just a moment, in addition to a so now we're going into a Viking first, and in order to go Overlord hunting, followed by a Thor most likely. As no, he just wants to, yeah, there we go, there's that Thor now coming online. Softball still wandering, still just continuing to just try to mine out of this location here. We should see a tech to tier 2. If Softball does not tech to tier 2, he is going to be in a little bit of a hurt, as he's not going to be able to get those Hydralisks and those other longer range units in order to try to deal damage towards that Thor or those siege tanks on the high ground. Viking now on the move as well. Do we see a medevac? Yes, a medevac currently being trained. Supply depot nearing completion. There it goes. The Thor is currently being built as well as that medevac is on the move. Viking looking for overlords to hunt, just missing them in the sky. Not quite sure what he's looking, where else he's looking for, as this Viking is now over here on this cliff, and he sees that there are essentially no overlords in order to offer sight. So he's going to be in a very, very safe position here, perhaps move out even with this one Viking, as now we have one overlord here. We do finally have this medevac nearing completion, about another 5 seconds or so. Thor will most likely get underneath that one medevac and make their way over here to this high ledge. The queen with one spine crawler will have to do its job in order to try to defend it. However, with no overlords, or with only one overlord in position, the Viking needs to do a great job of trying to shoot down the unit there. However, one of the weird instances is, even though that Viking is on that high ground, it is still able to take damage. So in comes the Thor. The Thor going to try to get some damage onto that queen. Will it be able to shoot down that queen and then and deal enough damage? And now down goes some drones. So drones are now getting shot down left and right. Queen now being pulled off here. If the Thor just goes off into this position, he will have enough range. And now we see some SCVs. So a lot of SCVs now being dropped over here on the high ground as well. And that is going to be a very, very difficult thing in order to try to push back. We do see that the Thor is taking a lot of damage, now trying to pull back once again. Will it be able to hold back just long enough? Just trying to fight back even further, trying to deal more damage towards those overlords. We do see another group of units trying to come back in, and that's Thor just trying to push back constantly. That one spine crawler, however, does not have sight to that high ground. There it goes, finally has sight, and those roaches now dealing damage. So those roaches trying to take down the Thor, but there are 4 SCVs currently repairing it, and that Thor even has an armor of 1, so able to reduce the amount of damage that has been dealt. And now that overlord has been shot down there, and those roaches currently have no way to attack onto the high ground until another overlord gets in position. Overlord trying to get there. It may take quite some time, as this overlord is already low on hit points there, and now that Viking will be able to shoot down and take down that one unit there. There are some SCVs over here. The SCVs, however, getting sniped down by those roaches as well, as that overlord now down to 44 hit points. Will enough damage be dealt? Constantly trying to repair it back and forth. Another Viking now down to 99 hit points. Both sides continuing to fight, and QXC just really focusing on trying to take down this one hatchery. It is important, but at the same time, it does not look like he's really getting that much. A lot of damage dealt so far. He is getting some drone kills and putting a lot of pressure, but he needs to also continue to do something in order to take this game. Perhaps additional Thors. As long as he's producing more units, he should be able to stay within it, as more and more of those overlords are now just getting picked up. And now we have the ventral sack upgrade, so nicely done. That one ventral sack now trying to come in. 4 roaches now quickly getting taken down. Roaches now dropping off onto that high ground, and this one Thor will get cleaned up by the mass roaches here. Queen's now trying to clean this up over here, trying to focus down those individual SCVs. SCVs now getting focused down as well, as this Thor is now being picked up and gonna get carried off into the main base here. And now Softball says GG. So really, really well played by QXC there. QXC ultimately just deciding to get the heck out of Dodge. Even though Softball was able to get roaches up onto that high ground, he was unable to finish off that Thor before that Thor jumped into the medevac once again and then came in and tried to deal more damage. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Root QXC and Softball here on Lost Temple.